Welcome back, everyone. Today I want to cover the newly announced Transformers HasLab, which this time is going to be the Decepticon Emperor of Destruction Deathsaurus from Transformers Victory. Now this, for me, was a very pleasant surprise because I didn't expect them to immediately follow up on Victory Saber with his nemesis Deathsaurus, but it's a very pleasant surprise because I'm very happy to get this guy. He's a character that I've wanted a proper toy of for quite some time. So this Deathsaurus is currently in its funding window. As of recording this, it's November 1st, and he's got a little over 41 days to go, currently sitting at 5,343 backers. And his target is going to be 11,000. So a little under halfway there after just a few days. Not too bad. Kind of wish it were a little higher, but there's still quite a bit of time to go, so hopefully he keeps rising steadily. Now, this new HasLab is going to cost the same as the Victory Saber, $180, which I'm not sure how I feel about the price. He ends up being about the same height as the combined Victory Saber, which is roughly 12 inches, so he is bigger than Jetfire, which is like an actual Commander class toy. So it does make him a little bigger than any Commander we've received so far. Jetfire is the tallest of them up to this point. And I think the going price for a Commander figure is still $90. So this guy costs about twice what a Commander class toy does. Now, do I think there's enough here to warrant, double the price of a Commander? No. It is definitely being sold at quite a bit of a markup. But when you compare it to other HasLabs that have been tried and failed recently, like the Marvel Legends Engine of Vengeance, which just failed to back about a day ago, it's not the worst price ever. I'm not trying to defend it or anything. It is overpriced, but it's far more reasonable than like $350 for a toy car with lights on it, because that was just absurd. And that thing failed just like it deserved to. This guy, I think, is going to fare a lot better. He is one of the cheapest HasLabs that have been put out across all of Hasbro, and there's quite a demand for this character. And that's something that I feel the Transformers team does better than most of the other design teams across the different brands, whether it's, your Transformers, your Marvel, your G.I. Joe, your Star Wars. They very much have their finger on the pulse of what fans want. And, just like with Unicron, people have been wanting a big Unicron for a long time, like a G1 Unicron. People in the forums have been asking for a Star Saber for a very long time. And they even upped the ante and did not just Star Saber, but, Star Saber and Victory Leo together, which was awesome. And then we've also wanted a Deathsaurus, and you can tell they're listening, because here he is. And I do like what they're trying here between Victory Saber and Deathsaurus, where they're realizing that not every HasLab has to be absolutely larger than life and, like $600. We can do some smaller ones too. And honestly, the smaller ones are kind of a safer bet. Because you remember, Unicron being just under $600, he had a hard time backing. They even had to extend his window out a little bit. Now, to be fair on their end, the timing really wasn't great for when they dropped him. And, HasLab was still kind of a new thing then. I think they've learned their lesson. So they realized that it doesn't hurt to go smaller. And I think that very much will help this guy get backed. Speaking of backing, let's kind of take a look at what we're getting here. So this is, from what I can tell, a near perfect recreation of your classic Generation 1 Deathsaurus. He has his beast mode, which is, some sort of kaiju monster. And even though we've only seen like some grayscale images so far, it does look very faithful to the original toy. Just, a little more fleshed out, a little more complex. And then the robot mode looks amazing. It looks like it was pulled right out of the Victory cartoon. And what's really even more awesome is that he does still include his classic breast masters. Now they've been renamed to chest masters for fairly obvious reasons. And even the names of the individual bots, which were Eagle Breast and Lion Breast, have just been simply altered to Eaglechest and Lionchest. Which I'm okay with, right? They're keeping it as close as possible without, people snickering about like, ho breast, and, also corporate likely getting cold feet over the naming. So yeah, they're fully functional. They still turn into the, chest armor and stuff for the robot mode. And they additionally now have weapon modes. Eaglechest is going to turn into a double-barreled blaster accessory, and then Lionchest is going to turn into a bow, in a reference to the bow that Deathsaurus is seen using in the Victory cartoon. So it looks like all the classic features are intact, which is actually more than you can say for Starsaber, who had a compromised Brainmaster gimmick. They didn't stick with the old way of doing things. They, kind of cheated it like they did on the Masterpiece version. This guy seems to keep everything more or less one for one, which is something I'm a huge fan of. When they do an update of a character, I want a total update. Like, I want every cool play feature and all that kept intact. Now, there's certain things I don't really care about, like electronics and, sounds and lights and things like that, because those things tend to get in the way of a good action figure. But when there's a certain feature of a character or a toy that's iconic to them, like, them being a headmaster, them being a breastmaster, something like that, I really want to see that preserved, and I'm really happy they did that here. So, as I said, he requires 11,000 backers to be produced, and then they get 2 additional unlock tiers for this campaign. The first tier comes at 14,000 backers, and that's going to be basically a weapons pack. So it's going to include his metal-destroying cannon, which is a very iconic weapon he used in the anime to, destroy God Jinrai, which, forced them to reformat him into Victory Leo. And that appears to actually fold up on itself, so it looks like it's going to have some sort of storage for the robot and or beast modes. And then he also comes with his spiked flail on a chain accessory, which he's also seen using in the cartoon. Now, that's a really cool one right there. And the chain's going to be fully posable. It's going to have, individual links and everything. So that's going to be a really nice touch. And then lastly, this tier also includes some blast effects. Now they are, yet again, the Siege Jetfire blast effects. Same ones they've used on all these different characters. They're using them on Victory Saber. I'm kind of sick to death of them, but I kind of consider these more just like a freebie that's thrown in there. I think the cannon and the flail are really the meat and potatoes of this tier. So it's alright. I mean, blast effects don't hurt. And I'm really happy they weren't the only thing in this tier, because that would have been the worst tier ever. And then we get our highest tier, which is a whopping 17,000 backers. Now, I will say that's a tall order. 17,000 is a lot. But it is a cheaper HasLab, so I think the odds of getting that high are a lot better than if it were, a larger and more expensive item. So this tier is going to include a display base. And it's just kind of like a round base, nothing special about it particularly, but it comes with 2 optional accessories. One is a little display armature that can be posed either vertically or at a diagonal. And this thing is custom made to allow you to display Deathsaurus in either his beast or robot modes. So you can have the beast mode like flying around, you can have the robot modes either standing up or leaping or doing something cool like that. But what really makes this shine is the other accessory, which is Deathsaurus' throne. So that very, very cool like Emperor of Destruction throne with the Decepticon symbol on top. It's got this specially made recess in the back to allow for Deathsaurus' like back kibble and everything to rest in there so he can sit, nice and flush inside. And then it also allows Eaglechest to roost on top of it. So you can have this really cool scene of Deathsaurus sitting in his throne, pondering or pontificating, and having Eaglechest just kind of roosting over top of him. I think that's awesome. And I think that is a very cool choice for a tier. I'm a little disappointed there's not a third tier in there somewhere, like maybe halfway between the 14,000 and 17,000. Or if they're feeling froggy, maybe even higher. I don't know. Because Victory Saber had 3. 3 is kind of the usual number for these HasLabs. I wouldn't have minded maybe some additional Micromasters again, like they do with Victory Saber. Not that the Micromasters were really a big part of the Decepticon team in Victory, but just getting a little something in there would have been nice. I guess they're just not going for it this time, which is a shame. But I will say I'm more or less satisfied with the tier unlocks we're getting, and the display base is a lot cooler in my opinion than the one they did for Victory Saber, because it's not just a regular base, it also serves as a throne, which is going to be the coolest thing. And I really can't wait to see all this in color. I think we're supposed to be getting color renders or color photos here very soon. I remember the design team said that they were supposed to be getting like a color prototype in their office sometime in the near future. And I think once people get to see that, because like the grayscale is cool, it helps show off the details, but it is kind of bland to look at. I think once we can see the full color shots of this guy, even just a prototype, that's really going to start bumping up the backers, because Deathsaurus has such a cool, just regal color scheme to him with all the blues and golds and stuff. It's really going to sell people on this, I think. Speaking of the design team, they actually did a little Q&A for this guy. I think it was a day or two after he was revealed. And they mentioned how he was originally slated to be a regular Commander class release in Legacy. It was the original plan. And then they decided to make him a HasLab so that they could, in their words, make him the right size and the complexity and all that, so that they feel they could do him justice. Now, do I believe that story? Do I think that there was some major upgrading and retweaking of the design to make it worthy of this HasLab price point? I'm skeptical, right? The Transformers guys, they're really great. In my opinion, they're the best design team that Hasbro has, and they're very passionate about what they do. But at the end of the day, they work for Hasbro. They have bosses they have to answer to. I do not expect them to be completely honest with us when it comes to things like cost-cutting, budgets. They have to make their bosses happy. So, I don't know, did they really upgrade this guy? Like well beyond what a commander should be? Evan says that he has a very high parts count compared to a commander class. I'd have to get it in hand to know for sure. I mean, he looks cool, but he doesn't look that complex, you know what I mean? Especially without the additional tier unlocks. And the thing about these HasLabs is they're supposed to be priced for just the base release, right? Like your minimum backers, what you get there, that's supposed to be what you're paying for. And then you get additional stuff as it funds more because their cost investment per unit goes down so they can afford to squeeze more things in. So, for just the base tier, is it worth $180? I don't think so. I think it is overpriced. But I do think it's one of the least overpriced HasLabs that are out there. I know that's not a great standard to live up to, but it is a reality of the situation. Like, HasLabs are always going to cost more than retail. And personally, I'm willing to part with the money for this guy. I've already gone and backed him. Only once so far, because I'm not made of money. Wish I could back 5, just to help put more out there in the world, but I don't have it. Sorry. I got other things I gotta buy, other responsibilities I gotta tend to. But I think he's worth it. I think, honestly, if you got the money for 5 of them, like, that you can easily part with and you don't mind, I would do it. Keep one for yourself, sell off the rest. It'll pay for the copy you want to keep, and you're allowing 4 additional people to get a hold of this guy. Because, with these HasLabs, once they make them, that's it. Like, if you don't back it, you don't get one, unless you got to buy it from a third party. So, yeah, that's just me. I think this guy's going to sell like hotcakes, because, again, he's not absurdly overpriced. He's something within the realm of being a reasonable purchase for an adult collector. And even people that don't have a lot of means, it wouldn't take them very, very long to save up for something like this. So I think he's going to do well. Do I think he's going to reach the 17,000? I don't know. That is a lot. That's well beyond the 11,000 they need as the minimum. But I'm hopeful. And I think, he is being opened up to international audiences. I know Japan's going to do this campaign through Takara Tomy Mall. And I think once the worldwide numbers hit, I think he'll get it. And perhaps if he does well enough, and he backs well beyond the 17,000, maybe they'll throw in an additional tier. It wouldn't be unheard of, and I would be very happy to see that. Because I always feel that 3 tiers is just kind of the standard now, and having a little something extra on the top would make this a really sweet deal. Okay, so I've given my thoughts on this guy. I think he's great. Yeah, he's overpriced like every other HasLab, but he's still one of the better deals you're going to get in any HasLab campaign. But I also really want to know what you guys think of this release. Is this something you're really excited about? Like, is Deathsaurus a definite buy-in for you? You really want this guy? Or maybe you do really want him, but you don't think you can afford it. Or perhaps you don't want this. Is it because you think it's too expensive, or you just don't have an attachment to the character? I'd love to know what you all think down in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this coverage of the newly announced Deathsaurus HasLab. And with all that said, I will see you next time.